Hello, I'm here today to talk about the special meeting that the supervisors called and held on May 14th, 2020. It was a virtual meeting. It was primarily directed towards interviewing 4 architects regarding the Promenade project. And just have a few comments. I want to make it as short as possible. But it's interesting to note that they kind of like just nonchalantly discussed the fact that they needed to interview the architects to move forward. They're not going to spend any money, but it's just a process to start getting there. Yet, it's required a special meeting. So that makes me think that there's more to it than just a casual movement towards getting the project initially started. They interviewed 4 architects. You can listen to the other 3, but I think the 4th architect they had on there, KCBA, is the architectural firm that they've already made a decision they're going to pick. So this was just a dog and pony show for us to make it official. And a couple other comments I think you folks should be aware of. Anyone who lives on Grant Street or Reef Avenue or Reef Place, it looks like they're going to extend the 40th Street, East 40th Street down into the Promenade and use it as a special access road. So you'll be able to see, I'm guessing, fire engines going out that way if it's necessary, police, ambulance, what have you. So they're going to increase the traffic on your streets, and be prepared for that. And you folks who live on Grant or Reef Place, you might want to chime in and let them know that you either love their idea or you do not like the idea of increased traffic. I have concerns about the property. If you look at the plans that the architects are presenting, I think it's very crowded. It's a 16-acre site, and not all 16 acres are usable. There's areas that are too steep, and they want to put the township offices there. They want to put the police there. They want the fire department there, and they're going to consolidate both fire departments, which will reduce the reaction time to fires in specific areas of the township, moving the Rife Fire Company there and moving the Stonersville Fire Company there increases their reaction time to certain areas of the township. They're going to put the ambulances there. They're going to put the highway department there. The district justice's office is also going to be there. And then in the middle of all this busy stuff, they're going to put the community center. So, and they're adamant about that. They've been pushing it the last couple weeks. So, and let's not forget, not mentioned at the meetings, they may have mentioned it briefly in their presentations, but they're going to have a food court there with at least 4 vendors. Our government wants their nice little community built by the taxpayers of this township. And I think that if we go back to an article that was printed in early April, I think it was April 14th, there was an article on the Promenade Shopping Center, and Dave Spees said that they were going to discuss the possibility with a few architects and then discuss it with the public. So it doesn't look like they're going to discuss this with the public, because this coming Tuesday, the 26th, they're holding their normal supervisors meeting, and on the agenda that they posted, apparently they're going to vote and pick one of the architects. So they're moving forward on this. They're not really concerned about input from the public. they've already got the plan. And if you go to exeterunited.com and you listen to my comments and the blog that I'll also add on there, there'll be a spot where you can click on and take a look at the RFP. The RFP is something that the township put out last year in late 2019. And RFP stands for a request for professional services. And this particular RFP outlines very specifically what they want the architects to consider in their proposals. And I think everyone who cares about this community should take a look at this RFP, read it, and think about what you think about what they're going to build up there. It's another government situation where they've got big eyes building government complexes at taxpayers' expense. In my opinion, we don't need this. We should be cutting government as much as possible. We should get out of developing things here and let developers come to us and bring their proposals instead of participating and trying to urge people to develop our community from a nice, quiet suburban community to a hustle and bustle type of cities down further towards Philadelphia. So they've scheduled it for this meeting. They're going to choose their architect without talking to us, as Mr. Spieth said on April 14th, article on the Promenade Shopping Center in the Reading Eagle. He made it a point to say they would discuss it with the public after they conferred with the architects. Well, that's not going to happen, apparently. And, they said they were only looking for ideas. So my prediction, I feel pretty strong about this. If I was a betting man, I'd bet the house on it. They're going to pick the fourth one they interviewed, KCBA. This was a foregone conclusion for a number of reasons. Apparently, KCBA years ago did some studies here for some potential construction that the Exeter Township was thinking about. Those studies led to no action being taken. So all it was a study we paid for. But if you look at KCBA, they list some of their people that they work with. And one of the people listed is Simone Collins. Simone Collins is a John Granger associate. And I don't know if the other ones are, but it could be. KCBA could be a major associate of Granger. And when I say associate, maybe he used them in other projects. And as you know, in one of the townships he managed, he misappropriated $1.7 million that's been in the paper. I've talked about it before. He's not a person that we could trust. But these are associates that he worked with. And we know you want to also recognize, if you don't know this, and I spent a lot of time on this, that's why I'm sure it's going to be KCBA. Simone Collins is the company. Their business is architecture and landscaping, but they were asked by Granger to develop a plan to start developing our community. And Simone Collins is the company that came up with the idea of, hey, the wastewater treatment plant is your most valuable asset. You could sell this and have all this extra money to do all these other things. And as you know, that's what occurred. There was no need to sell it. We've talked about that before, but that was Simone Collins' plan. And Simone Collins is going to be involved in developing the Promenade. You could count on it. So I think that what we need to do, I hope, is if you're opposed to this, what I think is a terrible plan, that you should contact the supervisors, let them know it through emails. watch the meeting on Tuesday, May 26th. Send in your comments there. But they're going to pick the architect because they're going to move forward. They're going to just keep going forward. We already spent $2,250,000 buying these 16 acres. The building is decrepit. I believe we'll end up just tearing it down. And I mentioned the RFP. And what you could do is when I post this on YouTube, I will also post it on exeterunited.com, where I will have a link to let you open up the RFP so that you can read it. And I encourage everyone to read this RFP because it spells out very specifically everything they want. It talks about the food court. It talks about separate buildings for at least the police and, of course, the fire company. It's interesting. I think about this and I wonder, how can we have a community center where kids are going to be running around, a district justice where citizens are going to be going when they have business with the district justice, and then all of a sudden you're driving or walking along and the sirens go off and you've got to scurry out of the way of the police cars or the fire engines or the ambulances. So it just doesn't seem to make sense to me to, squeeze in all of these things into 16 acres. And then in an area that can become very congested during certain times of the day and certain times of the year, like when school is in, school buses coming and going. So I think it was a bad concept from the very beginning. And I would like to see them fix up the Promenade, start running it out to other retail small companies, and then sell it to a promoter of these types of businesses and shopping malls. So we need to get out of that, put it back on the tax rolls, and cut our government, not grow it. So this is really building a monument to big government, and that's what their goal is, I think, to build a larger government in Exeter Township. They've got big eyes on this, but only because they expect the taxpayers to bankroll it. It's going to devastate this community if they're successful. But that's my opinion. Look at the information, read the RFP, and form your own opinion on this. Thank you.
Okay, we're good.
Ready to go?
Yep.
All right, I'd like to call to order the special meeting for Thursday, May 14th, 2020. Please rise for the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll take roll call. We have a few people trying to join. I don't know the procedure, Sam. We'll add them later. They can join in.
Yeah, you can just indicate when they're here. Make sure I think you're only doing one vote tonight. Just make sure we're clear on who's here.
Greg
Right.
just jumped on, so we have 4 of us.
Michelle's joining
Okay,
right
you
now.
have 4 now. Okay, great.
Okay.
Great.
Hey, how is everyone?
Good, good.
Looks like Michelle is joining, so we're
Well,
just,
Michelle's here too, good.
yeah, good.
Good
So
to
Michelle.
see.
Pledge the flag, we do roll call. Mr. Staub,
Present.
Mr. Casadas,
Here.
Mr. Gautier,
Here.
Ms. Gerter, and I'm here, Dave Spees. So we're all here. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi.
There are no public comments. So the first item of business, we had a discussion at the meeting, the Board of Supervisors meeting on May 11th regarding the library and submission of a grant that was due this Friday. That came in under what we submitted for last year, but this Keystone grant. What we had omitted at the meeting on Monday was to approve the resolution so that we could formally submit that grant. So we would like to do that tonight. Laurie, any comments, anything I missed there?
Nope, that about covers it. I know we talked about the grant a bit on Monday. This is just a formality that has to accompany the application. We had done it last year, but we did have to update it. So that's the reason that we have to do a new one.
Right. So yeah, I think we had a good discussion on this and everyone was pretty much in favor, but we do need to approve the resolution and make a motion to approve the resolution.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Second by John. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, so tonight, for those that are online tonight, we are going to listen to proposals and experience and capabilities of 4 architects that we had selected to interview. We're not deliberating tonight. We're just listening to their presentations and capabilities. We submitted 1 or 2 questions in advance so that they all would be able to see them and think about them rather than worrying about the order we go in. You know, so if there are any clarifying questions, I'm sure we can ask them about the presentation, but we submitted a few questions in advance just to let them have time to think about it.
Hey, Dave, unless you guys need me for anything else, I'm going to jump off. You know how to reach me should something come up, but I doubt that it will.
Okay, thanks, Sam.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye. Okay. So do you want me to go ahead and let the first
Sure,
group in? Okay.
absolutely.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Am I up and running? Can you see and hear me just fine?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. So I believe I see Lori, Dave, Joseph, John, and I guess there's multiple others. Is it another Joseph, John, Greg, Michelle? Is that your group?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. I do not want to waste any time because this is a tight schedule. Let me get right into this. My name is Michael Kautter. I am president and principal architect at Kautter and Kelley Architects in Wyomissing. It's worth noting that I was born in Reading. I was raised in Shillington. Worked in New York City for 8 years, and then returned to this area to establish Kautter and Kelley Architects in 1994. And we've been in business since then. Currently, we have a staff of 10. We actually just hired some summer help. Ironically, through this pandemic shutdown situation, we remain pretty busy. And, we're all very busy working almost entirely from home, but we haven't missed a step, and I think that's worth noting. With me this evening are 2 members from our team, Bob Sells from Barton Associates in York, Pennsylvania, and Aristides Otero. He's a landscape architect from Stackhouse Bensinger in Sinking Spring. Our team is also represented by Providence engineers, our structural engineers out of Lancaster, and Becker and Frondorf, our consulting cost estimators out of Philadelphia. these are all firms with whom Kautter and Kelley has had a working experience for over 25 years. We've worked together. Similar to the type of pre-design work that you are looking into, we have completed approximately 30 similar pre-design projects over the last 10 years, more than 60 over the history of our firm. Pre-design is an interesting and important component to architectural services, and I think you're going about this project in the right manner by first entering into pre-design, and I'd like to say a few things about that. This PowerPoint that you have flashing through my presentation are examples of about, I forget exactly how many are on here, but there's a handful of projects that either first began in pre-design or have since moved on to and through completed construction. And they're all, we selected these particular projects because they're similar in nature to what it is you're looking to do. I want to say about pre-design that it's the initial phase of planning, and it establishes the project's objectives prior to actually beginning what we consider basic design services and basic construction services. With this service to you, what we would be doing is assess existing conditions. We'd be looking at what you currently have and communicate with the people who use those conditions to find out what's right and what's wrong and what's efficient or inefficient about what you currently have. From that information, we would move to developing an approved program, and your program outline that you've created is diverse, and it's a good one. I think it matches up a variety of uses to a site that are compatible and can exist on such a site together in harmony, I think. After the approved program, we would evaluate the existing conditions of the Promenade site and see for ourselves what structurally is true from a architecture and infrastructure and site planning perspective. We'd evaluate those conditions to see what is conducive to reuse and what is more likely best removed from the site. From that information, we would establish a conceptual plan. Two in this case. One would be focused on conceptual planning around adaptive reuse with an effort to use as much of the existing architecture and site amenities as possible, and the other really focusing on functionality and not allowing the existing architecture to cloud the judgment of what this campus could eventually be for you. So we would look at these two designs and compare them. We would then turn that information over to Becker and Frauendorf to establish reliable pre-design construction cost estimating. From that and your input, we would solidify a working strategy that considers your priorities and potentially the phased implementation of the work. Is in almost all projects that we get involved with, there's a desire at the outset of the project for more project than there is budget to support. So that's one of the key reasons pre-design studies such as this are so important. It will allow you to look back on the documentation that results from this effort and decide what it is you really must have on this site and you should have on this site and you will benefit most from on this site, and what kind of financial expenditure it's going to require. And in something this large a scale project, it's very possible that that's going to need to be broken into phases. Maybe, maybe not, but that's something that would come of this. Yours is a mixed-use program that I'm just going to read off some of these things, and I'm going to do them in two groups. First, administrative offices, council chamber, district justice offices, multi-purpose spaces, recreational spaces, public meeting rooms, catering, food court, dining spaces, technology lounge, private office, and retail space. All of that, some of it public, some of it municipal, in my view, in our view as a team, really is potentially a good fit into the strip center. So I'm already segueing into the one question that was posed by your invite. That large strip center construction is something that could be utilized for adaptive reuse for those program items. The other program items of highway group, garage, police department, EMS, fire station, fire police, storage facilities, public green spaces, circulation and access, those components to your program likely, in my view at this point in time, not having gotten started yet really, are more suited to selective demolition and new construction of architecture on the site that is reactive to the important circulatory features and how these different program items peacefully coexist on a site and form a campus, if you will. Our adaptive reuse and selective demolition and new construction options will consider your program reorganization, improved efficiencies and functionality, your desired productivity, public municipal interaction, which is particularly interesting in light of the last 2 months of our existence and how the public and a municipal government are going to be forced to act in the next at least year or so. Flexibility and transformative spaces. I think flexibility becomes extremely important given what I just said. Tactical construction options, and ultimately the creation of a new and vibrant community center, a place, a destination location for people who live in Exeter to come and do a large variety of interesting things that are part of their daily or weekly lives, and that bring the community together to interact together. As I stated in our proposal, this is to be executed in basically 3 parts. The first being existing conditions assessment, the second being the planning itself for the adaptive reuse component, and thirdly, the new construction. In similar studies that we've done in the past, adaptive reuse just has too much financial benefit to overcome clearing a site and doing all new construction. So it's my conjecture at this point that the importance of showing what this costs as an all new developed site will more likely be the argument that you'll be able to make to your constituents and to the public that you considered it. And that to do this all new from scratch will cost X, and to make the most of what is there now, Y, and that through evaluative consideration, you will probably come to the conclusion, being a municipality in Berks County in 2020, that it's likely that reusing as much of this site and its current assets as possible will pay enormous dividends. And it won't, if it's designed properly, it won't negatively impact the strength and the vibrancy of this new campus center. Now, your question that was asked was, have we incorporated strip center buildings into a new design plan? And we have. Specifically, we have worked in 3 different strip centers over the last 10 years, one in New Jersey for Larkin Development, one in Allentown, also for Larkin Development, and more recently with the Works organization. Chip White is the owner of the Works here in Wyomissing, and he had us looking at, if you've ever been to the Works in Wyomissing, which I'm assuming some of you have, that rather mixed use adult child entertainment center, restaurant, bar, venue was to be planned for a Kmart, an abandoned Kmart in Phoenixville. So those are all very similar to this type of site and this infrastructure that we're examining for Exeter. Is incorporating structures something we recommend? Why and why not? I think that's the point of the pre-design study. We will know at the end of this, at the conclusion of the pre-design study, that this is something we're recommending the reuse of or we're not. I've already alluded to within your program components how more than half of your program does seemingly fit well into the infrastructure of the supermarket and the retail spaces, the separate retail spaces next to it. Others don't. And a fire station almost assuredly, and even possibly a police station. There's things that are so unique to those functions that really are probably best planned from the ground up, in my opinion. Why and why not? The why is pretty simple. Sustainable design and it's green architecture and planning in a sustainable manner starts with utilization of existing conditions and existing structures. It's the first great step you can take with a sustainable project. The amount of money involved in potentially selectively demolishing that supermarket and the strip center next to it, that large linear piece on the back of the site, is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Replacing the structure, the structural foundations, the steel columns, roof structure, and building envelope, and I'm sure some of the building envelope could be retained, is also millions of dollars. So it's hard for me to imagine, given your program, that those buildings won't be useful in this planning project. The why not, the why not part is purely, if you can afford it, allowing the tail to wag the dog. There's a big, beautiful site here in a very strategically convenient location to your community, and by having this hulking mass in the back of the site dictate the other decisions that have to be made about the other program components, could be the tail wagging the dog in the end. We won't know until we get into the project. I suspect that the way it's planned, with the access it has behind it and the fact that it's pushed up against the property line and there's rock back there, there are things that have me believing that what you have now is something we will want to work with. And I believe we probably will find ways to work with that mass in the back, and likely need to get rid of the other structures that are scattered about the site. You have 2 access points, which I think are good, and we'll have to work with those and make the most out of those. And I think it's best now for me to turn this over to questions and comments that you have for us. And if it's site related, I'll turn to Aristides and let him answer your questions about site, and Bob can answer anything about mechanical or electrical. I'll say this: it's likely that we won't be saving almost anything relative to HVAC systems, but the utility of electric and plumbing coming to the site and entering the building is something we'll evaluate how much of that we can use, and it's likely that we'll be able to use quite a bit of it. And with that, I would like to turn my remaining time over to you people and let you ask us some pointed questions, and we'll see if we can answer them intelligently.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Very comprehensive. Questions from anyone? Board?
Has there,
Go ahead, Michelle.
has there been any type of traffic studies done as far as that complex? Let's say at one time, if there's a fire and there's a police incident there, about how you're going to migrate around with the traffic, and you have a big event happening at the community center. How's that going to work traffic?
Aristides, would you like to try to field that question, please?
Sure. I don't know if the township has done any recent studies regarding the traffic along Perkiomen Ave and these particular entrances. I know PennDOT just wrapped up their redoing of Perkiomen Ave. I'm not sure if that data has been made available to the township to kind of see what kind of volumes you have along Perkiomen Ave. I imagine you might end up with one of these particular entrances, depending on the placement of these emergency service facilities. You might have at one of those entrances kind of an emergency signalization. You have that down along Lancaster Ave and the Wyomissing fire station have those kind of emergency lighting systems that dictate when traffic needs to be stopped. But as far as I know, I mean, we haven't done any traffic assessments at this point. That's certainly something that would need to be looked at to determine what kind of inputs and requirements PennDOT might have for any improvements on these entrances.
Thank you.
I mean, it's certainly something that we will get into
Right.
through the course of this.
Joe, you had a question?
That was the question I had. Thanks, Michelle. And I lost the feed for a couple minutes, so if that was discussed when I was off, I apologize. There's a spot in the back that leads up, and I'm not sure what road. Has anyone have you taken a look at that as far as the ability to access that out the back of like where the old Blockbuster was?
Right. Aristides, did you want to say anything about that?
If I have not. I have not gone out to the site and specifically looked at things. I think that's certainly part of our initial site and environmental assessments. I think, and if correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that there's a decent grade drop down to that
Yes.
back.
Yes.
Again, kind of once we have background drawings and understand the lay of the land, the elevation changes, and start to see how we might be able to maybe make that connection, whether or not that's a primary connection. I could see that being beneficial to emergency services,
Right.
to get that backside of the community. But that has to play into how we potentially reuse and adaptively reuse some of these structures, because it is blocked by Blockbuster or former Blockbuster.
Yeah.
So
And it leads to 40th Street. Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, if we were to evaluate that, and I'm sure we will, we're going to want to put some sense of estimated budgetary cost to it, because it's going to be a big cost. In order to make a connection through the back there and through that rock and through that grade change, that's likely to be a significant investment impact. And what we'll want to look at is, does it really bring in the benefit for the cost, or can you suffice with the current access to the south. If you follow what I'm saying. I mean, if you're
Right.
working with what the objective here, I have to humbly try to say this. I don't mean to be. I'm a native of Berks County, and I worked in New York City. I saw when budgets didn't matter. I've not had that experience since returning to Pennsylvania. Budgets matter, and really, this is going to be an effort of deciding for you, helping you decide that this piece of property can function at its best at a cost that you can be comfortable with. And that's what pre-design is all about. I mean, we have to get into it to answer the questions. It's something we love to do. We do a lot of this, and it's the right stepping stone to basic services, which is, you may decide from this pre-design service, the outcome may have you saying, all right, what of this program could we live without on this site? How much of this would make sense maybe now not on this site? Maybe you can afford it all. Maybe it all fits in beautifully and one supports the next. We'll find that out in this study. If it's done properly, we'll find it out and we'll report it to you, and you'll be able to make an informed decision about moving forward and about financing and planning a future that might be many years.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
No. Good presentation. Thank you.
Thanks for the time, guys.
Thank you very much. I mean, very good presentation.
We certainly appreciate the opportunity, and I know some of you know I've been communicating with various people within your group for almost 2 years now on this property, and we certainly have a very sincere interest in helping you find the right solution to this question and this problem of growing your municipality, less than a mile from where you're currently stationed. And this will be really a very good project for Berks County to look at. But I think Berks County will gain from what it is you're planning to do within your municipality. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, so what I'm going to do, we were getting some feedback on that one, so I had muted everyone, so I'm going to do that again this time. So I'll mute everyone except for the speaker, just so that, so then when you go, if at the end you want to make a comment, just unmute yourself, or I can do it, but just so that everyone can hear.
Okay.
Yeah, I was muting myself between.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I saw some of you were, yeah, I just wanted to, it's hard to figure out whose machine the noise is coming from sometimes. All right. Okay.
Good evening. How's everyone doing today?
Good, thank you.
Good. All right. Matt, my name is Joe Horan with Kimmel, Bogrette, and Matt McQuaid and Buck Collins from our office will also be joining us here momentarily.
Okay.
So Matt had, oh, here he is. Okay, he was in the waiting room. There we go. Perfect.
I'm here. Hello.
Great.
Are we good to go here?
We are just missing Buck. It looks like he was in, and now I am not seeing him. He was just on. So we'll give him a moment to get back in. He's got a minute. So Matt or Joe, I don't know if you can, it looked like Buck had been in, but he's not anymore. I don't know if you can, one of you can check with him.
I just reached out to him. I didn't hear anything back here. If it goes another couple minutes, I have the presentation here, so I can run it if need be.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt, I know everybody's on a tight time schedule, so why don't we get started and then Buck can sort of hop in as needed.
That's good.
All right, Matt, you want me? I have the presentation up. Do you want me to run it from here?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, Laurie, it's telling me that the host has disabled screen sharing.
You should be good now.
Thank you.
We'll try it again. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you all for taking the time this evening. We're excited to be here and hope to have the opportunity to work with all the folks here at Exeter. Again, my name is Joe Horan, principal partner at Kimmel Bogrette, along with Matt McQuaid.
Hello.
So our role as architects and working with you, municipal work is sort of one of the biggest focuses that we have as a firm, and our mission is really, and what we're proposing here as part of our process with Exeter is what we have is our master concept planning, and it's focused on the township and the mission. So our goal as a firm is extraordinary solutions for ordinary budgets, which is we strive to realize and reach towards every day. And our aim is constructed buildings, not paper drawings. And our goal is to bring projects in on budget that are unique and exciting projects that reflect what Exeter is as a community. We've worked with over 90 plus municipal clients throughout the state of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. It's over 3/4 of the work that we do. and it touches all of the different types of spaces, from public works to parks and recreation, municipal, police, admin, fire. We have a broad depth of experience in all of those various municipal types.
So as Joe kind of touched upon, one of the big things for us is using these buildings and these opportunities to really build a sense of community and kind of get to know Exeter Township, get to know what's important to you so we can create a project that's uniquely tailored to you. So while we do have a broad range of experience across multiple municipal clients and sites, we think of each one as being kind of different and unique to the place that they are in. So not everyone is the same. Not every building type is the same, and we want to really make this a customized process to you and the residents of the township.
Yeah, our goal is to not really bring any preconceived notions to the table. This is not a Kimmel Bogrette building. This is a true Exeter community building.
So, you know, we look at that as an opportunity then to really establish a unique community identity and build the building to meet the needs of your township, to make it look like it belongs in your township, to kind of make it a hub and a center for community activity. So again, not all of these should look the same. You know, a more rural township might want to have a building that looks like that as opposed to a more urban setting. So what we want to do is get to know you, get to know the people that you're serving in your constituency, and really come up with a design that supports your community and supports all the outreach functions and services that you provide to them.
All right. So how do we do this? We have a process that we've worked on now for almost 25 years that we call the Master Concept Planning process. And it's a 5-step process to help us get from where you sit now to a built building for the community at large. And it's a process rooted in mission and really helping rectify, the need versus the want versus the money. So everything that we have to do is going to be, really fiscally responsible. And how can we identify, what is a complex project with various different components and make sure that it stays on target and stays on budget through the entire process. And so we're going to walk you through this 5-step process here to really solve, this paradox. It starts with the mission, and you have a very well thought out program. But what we like to do is kind of step back and take a look at the history of Exeter and understand and realize, working with you and your team, what is the community like? How does the community involvement, so that we can adopt a project mission that will reflect, specific. I'm sure there's the overall township mission, but then what is specific to this project that's going to make it a success for the community? And then we sort of use that as the token, to sort of hold up through the entire process, so that every time, there's decisions, questions that are raised, when we input from the community, it's, we look back at that mission and ask, does it serve the greater good for the community? So we want to adopt a common mission for the project as step 1.
So step 2 for us, we call this our intelligence gathering phase, and this is particularly critical for your project. So what that means to us is we really want to identify all the existing constraints and variables with the project. Your site in particular has a bunch of existing buildings, so what we want to do is get in there. We want to understand what they're capable of and what they're not capable of, and use those components to make decisions. So sort of, try to identify what good uses would be and what bad uses would be. And understand where there might be weaknesses that we can plan around and do different things proactively to get to the end. Another thing that's really important is understanding, impacts of land development and zoning. That's why we have one of our trusted partners trusted local partner to you in Cedarville Engineering to provide support in that area. But, we want to understand utility connections, all these things that, if you don't understand them upfront and you don't account for them upfront, they cost more down the road by having to deal with them. So we want to understand everything that might be a limiter for this project. We want to lay it out. We want to show it to you. And then we want to make good decisions based off the intelligence that we found out in the field. So.
Yeah, and a lot of times we'll find that a lot of constraints drive creativity. So it's a fun challenge for us that we enjoy taking on.
And I was going to say, and I'm sorry I was late, I got frozen on on the meeting, but also it's opportunities we're going to look at, not just constraints, because we want to make sure to see what we can take advantage of with the site and the buildings.
All right. In phase 3 here is programming. So as you know, we talked about earlier, it's a very complex program with a lot of different departments. We would take a deep dive with the various committees and folks in your user groups and the end users to understand, the needs, the wants, the functions, all the sort of the technical aspects of how these places want to operate. But one of the things that we do aside from that and the square footage is what we call the experiential narrative. So we write, in paragraph form, how these spaces will feel from a sense of arrival, a welcoming lobby, so that when you have a spreadsheet with, a room is 200 square feet, but, understanding what does 200 square feet mean? It's going to serve X number of people. The room's going to feel, it's going to look like this. So it breaks down the programming from just a pure, how much quantifiable standpoint, but really gives it both that experiential, quantitative, and qualitative approach.
So the results of those first 3 steps is going to bring us to solutions. And what we like to do there is show really detailed and thoughtful site plans. So there's a lot of motion, there's a lot of circulation, things that we'll want to identify in these plans. We'll have that all accurately captured in the site concepts. We'll have very detailed building plans that show adjacencies, overall square footage. And then what we really want to do is develop realistic 3D concepts of the interiors and exteriors of the building to show how this is going to look and how it's going to feel. And, we like to use this as a benchmark that at the end of the day, when this project is all constructed, you can refer back to these. And we are pretty close to the target of what we originally proposed by going systematically through these steps to get to the end of a good result.
So on the cost estimating side, no project is successful if it doesn't come in at or under the budget that's put out there. So we benchmark every project that we do, and we have since the beginning of the firm. So we have a wealth of information that we use to make sure that the project is designed to the budget. And so one of the tools that we do to make sure that happens is we work with a local construction partner who is building in the marketplace. So we have real world dollars that they have spent recently, knowing what the subs are, what's the labor cost. Obviously, it's a public project. We know the issues associated with those that can impact costs. So we have a history from the very first project the firm has done. We've tracked every project for where it came in relating to budget. And we have a history of less than 1% change orders on approaching $2 billion worth of built projects. So we take it very seriously. It's a big part of what our culture is as a firm. We want to make sure you get more than you expected to get for your budget.
Yeah, and how we really do that is part of the process that we talked about, and it's really getting the mission right and understanding the constraints and variables so that we can foresee the unforeseeable and drive dollars and drive dollars where they matter most and drive out waste. Over 3/4 of our projects are public bid, multi-prime, so we're very familiar with the market. We are, very diligent in our processes internally for document coordination, really just to mitigate that risk on the construction end.
So schedule and timeline for us, all those steps that we just discussed, really 1 through 5, it takes anywhere from 3 to 5 months, and we can really tailor that schedule to meet your needs. So, I think your end date of fall 2021 for start of construction is eminently reasonable, as we represented in our proposal. We can get this process completed, the master concept plan, sort of the 2 various studies that you're looking to complete, anywhere from 3 to 5 months. Generally based off of, your availability to get us in front of all the key stakeholders to get the information that we need.
The next few slides here we have are just some examples of projects that we've done. we just thought we'd walk everybody through a few and then open it up to questions and answers.
So this project in Swatara Township is a new municipal complex similar to yours, actually on a very large piece of ground at a highway interchange, similar to yours. And so we've got police, public works, administrative, and justice all on this site. And so there's been significant diligence in how that needs to lay out, how they can work together. And we think that there's some good applications as it has to do with your project.
Falls Township is up in Bucks County, just off the Delaware River. This is also a very similar site where there is an existing facility on the campus. We looked at multiple options for police, public works, admin, as well as community space, including also leasable space that they could have for tenants. And we went through various different planning and programming exercises for that project.
We're working with the city of Chester and a private developer who is working with them to that white building in the upper is their current police and courthouse building, and it is antiquated and out of style. So they are going to move across the street and they're going to make it a mixed-use development. We're working with them. A very preliminary, you can see from the level of the drawings here, but that will be coexisting of courthouse, police, administrative, and retail and office over above.
So this is a Montgomery Township Recreation Center. We understand that maybe a few of you might have visited this during your due diligence process. It's a recreation facility that's looking to accomplish a lot of the similar things that you guys lay out in your proposal. Actually, interesting fact about this, the site was not originally dedicated for a rec use, sort of a developer site that we kind of backed into a recreation center. So there's a bit of that commonality as well. But this has most of the up-to-date, key features. We're instrumental in helping them kind of put together an operational plan for it so they can understand the cost and impacts of it. This is Haverford Township's Community Rec Center. This is another sort of sports and rec center, but it has an environmental bend. So there's a lot of concern about sustainability in your project. This is actually a LEED certified project. It's also a DCNR Green Park of the Year award. So a lot of sustainable features here. It integrates in with a bunch of trails and woodland sites. They also use it as a launch point for nature education and a bunch of outreach programs to the community. So again, another building example of kind of community outreach and trying to hit a lot of the goals that you outlined in your RFP.
And that was a former brownfield site, so there was a significant amount of environmental cleanup associated with that project as well.
This is a new municipal administration public works facility for Hanover Township, which is directly across from the Lehigh Valley Airport. Sustainability was a huge component of this project, very integral to the township's mission. We had a large vegetative green roof on the project, solar panels, and they also had community spaces for rental and whatnot. So it was a really, really successful project and very similar to some of the things that I think Exeter is looking to do from a goal standpoint. And this is also in not far from Lehigh Valley. It's in just north of Easton. This is a public works facility that was anchoring in a large several hundred acre community park. And the whole goal for this project was to, how could it blend in? You can see in the upper right-hand corner, it backed up to a neighborhood development. The hall on the right-hand side was the Township Community Park. So the building is literally buried in a green roof. So it was completely integrated with the site features, and it was almost like it did not exist.
And a lot about that site is that the proximity of the neighborhood behind it. So I know that's an issue here. We're going to explore about connectivity. And so that was 50 feet away from the nearest house. This is the Borough of Pottstown, their new public works garage. You may be familiar, it's right down the street. There was an existing public works facility there that was literally collapsing. And we assessed with them whether it made sense to renovate the existing building or to scrape it and build new. In this case, it made sense to build new. And so you've got a modern, fully functional facility on an existing site that was not providing any value.
And then, if we can open up the questions, but we have a few more here. Again, just this is East Hempfield Township. This is a police facility, which was full renovation and expansion of an existing building. And actually, that's the last slide. So we really appreciate the opportunity here, and we open it up to questions and answers.
Very good. Anyone? Thank you very much. Anyone from the board or anyone questions?
Yep, I don't have any. It was very impressive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for the presentation and the time today.
The one question I have, you just had the Pottstown example you had up there. You said that was redone, or the building was built on the same site as the old building?
There was a building, my recall was the building was collapsing. It was either adjacent to or on this site. So that a lot of site work was done in preparation of this property being redeveloped, and they're extremely happy with the result.
Great. Thank you. I'm good. Anyone else?
Yep, I'm good.
Much.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Great, we appreciate it. If you have any questions in the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks so
Thank you.
much.
Take
Really
care.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the next group, they're not in just yet. We're a few minutes early, so I asked everybody not to join early, so I will let you know as soon as I see them come on.
Okay.
They are slotted for 5:35.
Yep. Certainly nice to be getting some warm weather.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think we're in the 80s tomorrow.
I did not look.
All right, these are being recorded, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. I thought I saw the light flashing.
Yep. Yep, it's being recorded, and we're also streaming to YouTube.
Great.
If I didn't thank you already, Laurie, thank you for setting this up. It's going well so far.
Thank you. You're welcome. Did several tests today.
You've become a Zoom expert in the last month and a half, huh?
I have, yes. Oh, and you know what? I just reached out to our next one and let him know that we were running a little bit early, so he is ready. I can let him in the meeting now if you guys are ready.
Fine by me.
Yep.
Dave?
There you go.
Perfect.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening, Scott.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good. How about yourself?
Not bad. It's really warm in my office, though, for some reason. I think I'm trying to get conditioning back on this week. So let's start sweating.
Okay. I'm going to take a look at that and just let me know if that looks good for you, Scott.
Yeah, that's, again, we had asked to submit kind of a, I'm going to say, a abbreviated document for use on the interview process. So that's what I'm just going to refer to. So I don't know if anybody had any initial questions on our proposal, the full proposal that we submitted, or the revised kind of abridged document that we submitted for this presentation.
Nothing specific right now.
No, nothing for me.
Okay. Well, I think when Lori sent her out the invite, she mentioned that there was a question about, this is obviously an existing facility. I actually went up to the property again yesterday just to, kind of refamiliarize myself with the layout of the land there and looking at all the contours and the grade changes and everything. I think one of the questions that you had asked was, have we done projects with existing facilities like this before? And Buchart Horn has probably done over a dozen shared municipal police facilities, and I can think of 4 projects where we used existing facilities. Probably the most recent, or maybe not most recent, but the most closest example would be the project we did for Derry Township, Mifflin County. There they bought a old readiness center from the National Guard. It was about 33,000 square feet. They got a good price on it and just wanted to move their whole operation in there kind of with a little expense as possible. And it was over about a 3-year process where we evaluated the facility, looked at all the mechanicals, looked at all the heat, security. That building was actually pretty well suited for police because it had a lot of security, had a fence around it, one way in type of thing. So that was pretty successful. That was only $1 million in renovations for the 33,000 square feet. So it estimated about $55 a square foot. The building was built in like 1998, so it wasn't that old. It was only decommissioned for about 3 years, and it never really had all the utilities turned off. So it was a pretty good candidate. The Springettsbury Township project we did was 2 facilities, and that required total gut renovation. It was an old barn. It was a schoolhouse. That was near across from Hershey Park in Derry Township, Dauphin County. And that was about $175 a square foot with all that work. In terms of your project, I just wanted to mention that I think Buchart Horn is ideally suited for something like this because we have all our services in-house. We have electrical, mechanical, plumbing, fire protection, structural, civil, cost estimating. We don't always package that together for a project because a lot of municipalities might have a local civil engineer, or they might have an electrical engineer that is very familiar with their existing facilities. And we've teamed up with other engineering consultants many times. However, for a study similar to this, we have a team that we use pretty frequently that does these evaluations. We've evaluated multiple buildings for Dauphin County all the way up to Crawford County. So again, the team that we put together that you see on the resume section is the team I work with pretty exclusively in our municipal market sector. Again, my name's Scott Larker. Sorry if that wasn't introduced before. I'm the principal at Buchart Horn Architects, but I'm also the market sector leader in local government work. Actually served on borough council in my hometown for about 6 years. So I'm pretty familiar with both sides of the table when I kind of give these presentations. One of the concerns I have for your facility is this would be our first kind of retail conversion. And anyone that's familiar with construction realize that those aren't typically built for a long life cycle. So obviously the structure, the roof, maybe the bones may be good. But in terms of its envelope and its mechanicals, that's where my concern would be in terms of longevity. The work that we do with commercial clients, we have another architect that kind of leads that opportunities. They're all, lowest cost, lowest weight steel, lowest weight this, and trying to get in for as economical as possible. So I know this was built probably, I don't know what the construction date of the majority of this complex would be, but that's one of my concerns. Yeah, these are just some recent examples. We do a lot of, this kind of shared facility use. We've done them with fire, police, and administration. Police and administration is, pretty common. We do see a lot of benefit for that in terms of sharing resources, sharing expenses. The one I'm currently working on, and I have a presentation following this meeting at 6 o'clock, is with Springettsbury Township. Their existing building is about 19,000 square feet, and we're adding about 37,000 square feet to that facility. That includes a new community/library, but the library of today is a little different than of 20 years ago. It's more of an adult learning center for education. They also have a huge Springettsbury Park. They do a large program for the residents for summer parks programs, so that would be utilized for that department as well. So again, any questions about what I've covered so far, if I've addressed your question in terms of your type of facility? I could talk all night.
Yeah. Talk away.
All right, so I'll just go over the preliminary concept. So I don't know if anybody's ever presented a concept. I see something like this and I just try to jump right in and think of, here's how I might approach this. Again, without talking to anybody, I made some assumptions. So again, you might look at that and say, well, there's no way we want to put that there. Okay, but there's a number of ways to do it. I just like to solve the problem and look at it as a puzzle and try to, how would I kind of solve this issue? And as you can see, I tried to keep most of the giant store there. That was the most open, probably large space that we could easily divide up into different department spaces. And then the individual retail spaces, I guess, on this plan to the east, I think it's more south on the site. Figured the way they're broken up, probably not a good candidate for reuse, especially if we wanted to add, or the program included a large gymnasium or a large public meeting space or some sort of flex space. Ended up putting the emergency services right out front, good location, good access. Hopefully we could turn, I guess it would be south when we leave the site, but we could still go down to the new the lights that's currently there. Public Works is a tough one. Again, they operate 24/7. There is a good grade separation from the residential housing, I guess, to the rear of the property, which is helpful. But nobody likes a salt truck backing up in the middle of the night, trying to load up in materials. And so again, it's one to keep that somewhat isolated on the site. So it does create a nice service yard. There could be a fueling island for fueling police cars, Public Works facility cars, something along that back access road as well. But again, just try to make as much green space as possible, make it, walkable, at least when you're on the site. Maybe some green space when you come outside the gymnasium or the public meeting space, things like that. And I kept kind of the retail that's there now. I believe it's Monroe. There's a dry cleaner and the car wash, and then added a few more, I guess, to the right side of the existing facility, to kind of bring a little more retail use into the site. So that's was my thinking on the layout. Put emergency services out front, provide some security and access for the police and public works, and then just make it, kind of inviting for the public. And I also took the program and just developed some sort of square foot breakdown. I don't believe square footages were provided, but again, made a lot of assumptions, obviously, and came up with, a current need total for all the different departments, administration, police, highway, and emergency services. And again, the first step would be obviously some sort of, community presentation, community involvement, department interviews, maybe a building committee or a redevelopment committee. But it's always nice to start looking at something. A lot of times when I start off with clients, they don't really know what they want until they know what they don't want. So this is at least a talking point. It lets somebody say, oh, I didn't know, or I didn't think of that. But again, we come up with these rather quickly, or at least I do. So if there was a change at one meeting, next day we could have a revised layout pretty quickly. We have a lot of history on recent projects too, where we can come up with, cost per square foot, depending on how much we renovate, how much we build new, things like that. We have a lot of historic data and projects that are currently in several stages of design. So it's easy to put numbers to these because a lot of people, obviously the next question is, all right, well, how much does that cost per square foot? So. And I did put together a project timeline. Again, that's based on our ability to put something together. Obviously, the more people that are involved in something like this, the little harder it is to kind of meet those dates. Because I know people's schedules are always busy, but we meet after hours for the most part. Because a lot of times people that want to be involved with this, usually they have, full-time jobs, like most people in public service, where they want to do it after work. Even the residents. So again, we're always accustomed to that. The Zoom presentation is a little new to me. We've done the meetings before, but hopefully, once things get back to usual, we can do that type of thing in person. It's always best to see people's expressions and body language when you're trying to describe something. So. I think I covered everything I wanted to go over that I thought, would provide the township with an idea of, what Buchart Horn can bring, where I feel, our advantage is to at least preliminary study, quick turnaround, everything in-house. Again, ability to turn around those concepts pretty quickly.
Excellent. That's a lot of information on it.
It is.
Yeah, so you can tell I'm excited. I get excited about it. I enjoy what I do, so I'm one of the lucky ones.
Is your goal typically to use as much of the existing structure as possible?
I mean, obviously, again, we want to get the best value for the township. If there's something there that we can use and we can, get another 10, 15 years out of it, so be it. My biggest fear is, somebody moves into a facility that we renovate, and 5 years from now, and then you got to pay for the roof again. You have to go out for another bond or another royal of financing. So we would work with work the township, pretty extensively to determine what the budget is and where we can spend that money. Again, a lot of our successes come from, really listening to our clients and understanding, their goals. If the goal is to, maybe everything can't be done at once. If the buildings are so far, maybe past their life expectancy, let's find out what needs to be done and, what we can maybe do in the next phase. And unfortunately, sometimes those phases are 15 years, 20 years, or they never come. So that's always something to consider as well. I always like to use the term, nothing costs. It's always going to cost more tomorrow. So whatever we can do today, to get the best value for your money. That's always our goal. And again, I've sat on that side of the table too, when people come in and they say, yeah, we're going to projects this, and we do all our financing, we get all our thing in place. And then, 3 months into it, well, we need to add this, or here's something else that, we should include. And then you're just kind of scrambling. It just puts everybody in a bad position from the beginning.
It looks like you really thought through. I mean, the importance of a project this size, having the multiple entrances and exits, is very important.
We do a lot with the police commission. We're members of the PA Chiefs of Police Association. I do a lot of conferences. I go to a lot of emergency service type functions, and we do a lot of CLIA. We do a lot of accredited facilities. So, one of the things is having those multiple entrances in case there is some sort of accident at your main entrance and you need to get emergency services out. We also work a lot with 21st century policing. So, we try to make the police department a little more open to the public. So I know in our current project, the community room is kind of a hit or miss. Some things that, some people think we need, some people think they don't need. And my job as, the architect is just to listen and provide input where I can. But the police department finds that a huge, asset in order to, whether it's media, whether it's promotion, whether it's some training, and having more of that in a upfront type situation out into the public facing. That's what they like to use it for. So it helps with that transparency. So when you go to the police department, you're not kind of hesitant. They're not really, that intimidation factor goes away a little bit. So it's something that's always a balance with security and openness to the residents.
You don't see any concern with the grade for a connection up to 40th Street?
Well, I didn't get out and walk it. I think it'd be nice to have. Again, I kind of saw that connection and it looked like it was thought of at some point, and maybe it didn't go through because of that. I don't have a lot of history on the site. There's some concern, but again, if there's value in that, if that's an important part to the township, then yeah, we'd make that a priority. If there's more desire to put that cost maybe into the public works and to maybe the emergency services, then we would look at that as well. But it just in plan, it looked like a nice bonus to the project.
Okay. Thank you.
As a part of this, will you take a look at our current buildings and evaluate them?
I think we did have that in the proposal in terms of whether I can't remember exactly what the scope included, but I know we did tour the building, and I think it was doing some interviews with department heads. I don't know if there was something in the proposal to then provide maybe a value to what those buildings were, or evaluate if those could be added to or maybe modified to meet the program needs. So I'd have to check the program. Apologize, I did not remember reading that part before the interview. I did look through the proposal, but not the actual RFP. But there was trips to those facilities, and I believe it was mostly to interview existing departments. Would there be a desire to have those as an option in order to remain in their current location?
I think it would be valuable data for us.
Yeah.
As we look through this.
Yes, and again, I tried to follow a little bit of the history about the township and purchasing the site and what the plans were. But if there's other options available, we would definitely put those pricing to that, so you could compare, moving to a kind of a complex or renovating existing facilities. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with Greg as well that it's certainly, I think regardless of what we do, there needs to be taking a look at both sides and seeing what makes sense, obviously fitting the needs, but can you do it in your current facility? Do you need to move it up there? They certainly are discussions we should have.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there was something in the proposal about looking at the existing facilities. I can't remember if it was requested to actually then develop options to renovate those. But again, at that point, it would be just looking at kind of cost per square foot, making sure that sites could accommodate any sort of growth. And that can be done fairly quickly. Some of the, I guess, the cost that we had in our proposal was looking at the electrical, mechanical, fire protection, things at the current site, trying to determine really what we can or cannot reuse. Another thing to consider is, fire and police are considered essential facilities, much like, township operations. And they do, the code does require additional structural stability for those types of facilities. So we would do a pretty extensive look at the structural layout of, the existing buildings at this property to make sure that we can either adapt them or they do meet, current code requirements. It's not extensive work, but it is something to consider when looking at existing buildings that weren't designed for that type of use.
Excellent. Yeah. Anyone else? I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah, keep you guys moving. I know how this can get a little long.
No, I appreciate it. It's a lot of information. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, my pleasure. Again, look forward to it. Looked like an interesting project to say the least. So,
yeah. Well done.
Best of luck to everybody.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Okay.
You wouldn't get much more on that slide. That's a lot of.
Yeah.
That's very efficient.
Yeah.
I normally don't use these, but I almost had to put them on.
Yeah, I did take notice on that garage space.
Yeah.
3/4 of our equipment would be outside. Without a doubt.
Not large enough.
Oh my God, that thing's pathetic. Yeah, well, whatever. That is definitely.
Good size, but I mean, I think the layout with the entrances and when you're throwing it together, I mean, it's nice to see something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that didn't even have show a maintenance area for working on the cars.
Yeah.
It didn't show that either. So.
Okay, so I've got the other, I'm just going to double check that they're ready to go because we're a little bit early. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let the last ones in here.
Okay.
I had let them know that we were running a little ahead of schedule, so hopefully they'll be ready to go.
Excellent. We're not always ahead of schedule.
No, that usually happen.
Hey guys,
Hey, down there.
we're having a little Jay technical challenges right now. He's hopefully going to be up soon.
Okay.
Jamie should be okay. She's here and she's ready to go. We're just trying to make sure Jay is ready to go.
Yeah, it looks like Jamie's on.
Yeah, she's on. We tested this. I tested it with Lori, but we did do a little office test run on it, and everything was all good. So you know how that goes.
Yep.
Then you go out in the game, and somebody forgets to block the guy, and the running back gets tackled too quick. How's it going? How's the online presentations going? Is it, you guys find it as good as if it was real, or is it a challenge to look at them from your monitor at home?
The numbers can be challenging, but other than that, it certainly works.
Yeah,
It's our new normal.
it is. It is. It's definitely going to be, for at least for the foreseeable future, it's going to be the way
Right.
it will.
Yep.
And I honestly don't think it's going to go away in the end. I think we'll still have virtual meetings, although we'll still have meet together, but people will feel comfortable doing it this way in the future. But if you could give us a couple minutes, we have a backup plan. Jay may just call in and not have his video.
Okay.
Sure, yeah. I don't know if he needs,
We have time.
I could maybe try to help. I don't know if he needs a new link or.
He should have, he ran his test. He should be okay.
Okay, all right.
We'll see. Hopefully he gets up and running. Otherwise, I'll jump in the car, drive over.
Yeah, but we called you guys up a little early, so.
I'll put some food in the hamster, so we put them on that wheel and he starts running. We'll get that thing going. I'll try giving him a call real quick.
Here, I'll stick you back in the waiting room, and you can just message me when you're ready to go. That way you're not on the camera here.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, I'll just keep an eye until I see him pop up.
Okay.
It's probably my fault. I messaged them and asked if they could join early, which probably just jinxed the whole thing,
Is it possible John could put a different picture up? Or can I block that picture?
Well, I love his dog's cute.
What's the dog's name?
No, that's just John, just the dog.
I think you're muted, John.
You're muted, John.
I'm sorry.
Why did you say that?
Anyway, that's my Zoom background, Greg, but that's
Is that
Okay.
Zoom thing.
Tell the dog public comments over, John.
he's ready for dinner?
That's why he's barking.
Yep. Michelle, you at administration? Oh, you're on mute.
Got it.
Are you at the administration building?
Yes.
And I believe Trout Run officially, the underpass officially opened today.
It did, but I wasn't expecting it until tomorrow.
Oh, great.
Yeah, Clarence had said earlier here, I'll unmute him in case he wants to chime in, but and it looks great. I was down there earlier and there were already a ton of cars going through. They were going to wait until they were totally done cleaning up, but they just decided today that they could clean up while it was open. So I think people were happy with that.
Yeah, we have some people coming in tomorrow. There's a few pieces of equipment they still have to move. They were taking all the signs down, and we're going to run the street sweeper tomorrow morning early before we start with our other work. But other than that, it's all finished. Looks great.
Good.
Yeah, he's gone as of Saturday morning. He said he's pulling out of here Saturday morning. But so they expect to be totally finished tomorrow with their cleanup.
And all the bills are paid?
Hey, he's happy. So he's We're going to his next job in Columbus, Ohio. He said he has another railroad to work on.
Wow.
He said most of his work is with the railroad. He works with all of them.
That is going to be so nice having that open. I think that will really make a lot of people very happy, including myself.
A lot of people along Hearthstone and
Yeah.
all the way up through there will be happy.
Yeah, we've been getting phone calls about that. They want to make sure we're telling Mascara.
Yeah.
They're worried he won't get the message.
Right.
Yeah. They're supposed to open their depot, or new depot.
Joe, did you get the chamber list?
No, I didn't. I got, yeah, cool.
I just got it.
Yep.
My boss is my new boss is, he's pretty high up there with the chamber, so he just sent it to me.
Great.
So I'll forward it on to you, Laura, you and Clarence.
Yeah, great.
Maybe you could put John's dog on the top of my head so I get a little coverage.
All right, I'm going to let Eric back in. And just see.
All right.
Good to go?
I think we're good to go. Jay should be calling in.
Yes, I see that. I'm just going to rename him before I admit him in so his phone number isn't.
Okay.
Let me let Jamie in.
Jamie should be in. I know she's ready to go in, so hopefully, I don't see her on the board there yet.
Yep. There's Jamie. There's her name anyhow.
Okay.
Looks like a 215 number coming in.
Probably. Hey, she's the one that's going to run the meet or host the file.
Yes, I'm not sure why mine isn't showing the video.
Did you have your video like on off or?
It looks like the host has stopped it.
Here we go. You should get a pop-up.
Okay. I didn't get a pop-up.
I guess I could see if I could pull it up. I have a ability.
Wait, I got one. I got it. Yeah, there it is. I was trying to gather some excitement before I made my reveal. If I would have known that, I would have bounced more into place. So I can go ahead and share my screen then?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm gonna share this and I'm gonna launch it.
And again, I'm just muting everybody except for the speakers. So if anybody else on the meeting wants to speak, just make sure you unmute yourself first.
Okay, great.
This is Jay Klepp. I'm on call in only because my computer never did boot. Is that still going to be fine?
Yep, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, that's good. I'm so bummed out. For the first time in 2 months, I got all dressed up and I even have a tie. And I'll call for now.
I can attest to that. He's pretty dressed up.
I got all duded up. I mean,
Yeah, it's been a long time since we put a suit jacket on.
no, I was going to really knock their socks off.
So should we get ready to get started?
I think so, yep. I think that you're good to go, yeah.
Okay. Well, I wanted to thank everybody for giving us this opportunity to present our team to you guys for your your master plan study for the conversion of the Promenade to the new Exeter Township municipal complex. But it's a terrific idea to kind of revitalize something that's been worn and a little tired now into a new vibrant corner of the township. So we're very excited for this opportunity. Normally, we'd love to meet you guys in person, but I guess during these times, this is the new norm. Kind of wish we could meet like the old days. It's hard to believe we're already talking about the old days, and it's only a month or two away. But we really do appreciate it. Rest assured, we do have experience online. It may not represent that today, but we have been meeting online on many occasions. So this is not new to us, and we're very familiar with it, and we're looking forward to presenting. So I wanted to introduce myself. My name's Eric Chianelli. I'm the principal at KCBA. I'll be the principal in charge here. I got over 30 years experience, and I'm looking forward to helping you guys, and I'll have the rest of our team introduce themselves.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Ober. I'm an architect at KCBA. I've worked on many different municipal campuses, and I'll be the project manager on this project.
And I'm Jay Clough. I'm the founding principal of KCBA. And my role in the project will be primarily getting involved with presentations and public interaction with the study. And also, tonight I have the nice opportunity, my role in this interview is to kind of introduce the firm and introduce the team to you. So if we go to the first slide, please. We really specialize in public buildings. That's kind of what we do for a living. And ultimately, we are especially proud of that we do municipal. We've been doing it a really long time. And I think what makes us different is our talented in-house staff. We have a wide range of individuals where the skills complement each other. For instance, we have space planners, code specialists, security specialists, that's a big one now, and structural engineers. That's really important when you kind of look at what you want to redo to do an older building. Currently, we have three. We always have a lot of stuff going on municipal. Currently, we have three of them active. We're closing out Horsham Township. We are just breaking ground on Whitehall Township on construction, and we're starting a master planning process for the design process for Plymouth Township, which is exactly like yours. It's a campus. You'll be hearing a little bit more about that later. Next slide, please. In terms of our specialists, then, we have put together a team of specialists to assist us. And every one of these people on the team, they're local, they have experience working in Exeter Township, and they really have a pretty good knowledge of your property. The expertise of every one of these team members complements one another. So what we have here is a group of people that make sure we explore all the aspects of what it would take to do something on that Promenade site. The goal of this group is to make sure that when we're done, we'll give you a whole list of options and all those lists with reliable costs. So the idea is somewhere down the road, you can make some really good informed decisions about what to do with that site. You'll have all the information you need to feel comfortable. And next slide, please. We are showing a sample here of our municipal projects, and the top row has municipal with some police in it, and I think you recognize a lot of those. We certainly would encourage you to contact those clients and let them know how those projects went. The bottom row has all the specialties kind of called out, and we've done several of each of these. We just picked some representative stuff. The bottom row shows stuff like the police component, the fire component, the public works component, and the community component. So just to show you that we have the expertise to do all these things. If we go to the next slide, it's kind of interesting. We have worked for you twice in the past. We worked for you in 2009, and we worked for you in 2016. And during that time, we were able to do some really exciting studies and really exciting master plans. And there you see a couple examples of what we were able to accomplish with you. If we go to the next slides, we're going to now sort of focus on projects that are related to the Promenade project. The first one, even though it's in a rural context, is South Hanover. And South Hanover was a complete campus, and you notice it's got walking paths, it's got various buildings on it, and it's got even recreation space. So that is kind of an example of campus plan. We go to the next one, new building from the ground up. That is Limerick, and that combines municipal and police into one structure. I think the next one's more fascinating. We go to that. This is the Bath Municipal Building, and this was a beer distributor, which was turned as part of their urban renewal, kind of rebuilding downtown. They turned it into their municipal building. So we can work with a very wide range of buildings in order to make conversions. The next one is the Whitehall. If we go to the next slide, is the Whitehall Township Building. And I think the really important part about this, the building on the left-hand side, we reused all of that building. It's in there, but we just gave it a new facade, and it's amazing what that old building is able to accomplish. So we're very confident of what we could turn over the facades and similar in the Promenade if necessary. Finally, I guess now more than ever, it's always been important to have cost control, but boy, now it is a big deal. And we're really proud of our record. We show it to you here, and you can check in with any of those people. We always come very close to the budget. We give you accurate financial information so you can make informed decisions. So you know a little bit about us. Haven't been able to see me, but you know a little bit about us. So we're going to turn it over to Jamie, and she's going to talk about our process, and then she's going to talk about how we're going to apply it to your project.
Great. Thank you, Jay. So we love being a part of the master plan process. It's ideal to get in the ground level and be a part of this from the beginning. It's exciting. So the first thing we would do would be to send out our engineers and our architects to evaluate your existing assets and look at the viability of the existing promenade space and development for adaptive reuse if possible. And we would work with you to find the best value for your money. Another important part of the process is to meet with your department heads and the stakeholders and work with you the way you want to be engaged. How are you working now, and how do you want to work in the future? I always say that being able to listen well is the best ingredient at this stage of the process. You want to know what your aspirations are for the site, and how do you take a tired site and develop it into a well-organized and vibrant community-based center. So we love the process of developing a vision, but it is paramount that it's rooted in your specific needs. It will be something you all can be excited about. We're currently working with Plymouth Township and reimagining their existing facility and site and such. And it has a lot of similar programmatic needs as yours. The site has a lot of components with the township and the police, the public works, garages, storage areas, and such. And it's extremely important to organize the site and maximize the use of any of the existing buildings that are necessary, and managing the different access points coming into the site for different functions. And then we can start to drill in, and we can start to look at the adjacencies and study their relationship to each other and how those functions operate, and then how it relates back to the site strategy. We use many different 3D softwares. We begin to use these at the very early stages of the process and in the very beginning programming master planning phases. We believe that it is an important tool that helps us explain ideas and starts to get collaboration and buy-in at all different levels, and helps people that might not be able to read flat 2D drawings and such in a 3D manner. And part of the planning of this project, part of my role will also be to hold us to a budget. We will work hand in hand with the cost estimator, and we also have an extensive experience in real costs. And so we'll always be tracking these along the way and giving you the real numbers so that you can make informed decisions. So you can see we provide a lot of different types of information and tools that you can begin to use with your public engagement moving forward. So I'd like to hand off the mic to Eric, start to drill in a little bit to your specific project.
Thanks, Jamie. So, we go ahead and go to the next slide. We wanted to talk to you a little bit about your property and, what does your property offer in terms of its features, its challenges? Obviously you know the site fairly well, so there's definitely some impacts that existing site is going to put on your endeavors to make that a municipal complex. Your program is very diverse. You have components in there that need security and restrictions from the public, and then you need a public component where they can freely gather, move around, feel safe, and then there's a pedestrian portion of that project as well. So we kind of want to cover a little bit of those scenarios here for your particular site. Next slide. So buildings in red are the buildings, obviously, that we're talking about. I'm sure you've heard this several times today. So you have a component there where you have a Monroe, a Midas type muffler type place and a car washing type place. You got automotive components. You got some retail or ex-retail and some food service places, as well as a Radio Shack that's maybe seen better days. And it's my understanding the health waste building is to stay as it was. We just need to improve its circulation. So we kind of hatched that as that, we have to look to see how to keep that, is from my understanding. But we'll study that building and see what those options are for you. So one of the key aspects of this is going to be, how do we control traffic? There's a couple different varieties of traffic that's going to be on that site. You're going to have your emergency responders. They're going to need a safe way to get out that's unimpeded. It can't be blocked. And then you got to have a component where the public can come in and move around freely without impeding public works, fire, police, emergency ambulances. So we have, that strategy is going to be very important given the site. And you can see we have 2 places to enter the site. And then we're going to kind of talk about that in a minute, how we would split that up. Next slide. So we also know you got some challenges out there on that site. We have a couple of areas where the terrain's a little steep. Obviously, we're going to have to try to steer clear of some of that, or try to figure out how to work with it in some aspect. But it's a challenge on the site. Doesn't necessarily make it a problem, but an opportunity for us to see what we can do with it. Next slide. So here we were, kind of just analyzing, what is the natural, what are some of the natural things that you have here, and with your emergency response component of this project, you need to have 2 ways to get those vehicles in and out. And just in case there's an accident on Perkiomen at the intersection, you got to have another way out. So we looked at this site thinking that the best way to put the emergency flow there would put it on Neversink coming down that hill to the light. I know they understand there's going to be a future light on the master plan, so that they could come downhill. But in the event that they can't get there, we would have a controlled access, or we would recommend maybe a controlled access out to 40th Street, so that one, I have some young kids that are driving, and I know how they are, and I wouldn't want to be in a neighborhood with a bunch of kids running through my neighborhood to get to their high school. So we would look at a controlled access, maybe just for the emergency responders, just in case they can't get out of Perkiomen in an emergency call. So that's kind of a scenario that we're looking at there. On the public side, we see that you currently have an entrance there. That's a good public entrance. It's level. The sight lines are very good, very safe. Another traffic light could go there, and you can see how the public is now isolated from the emergency response. So that gives you some ideas of how we were thinking about that component. Next slide. So now we start to break down, like, if we did have the natural gift of that site was to give us that secure access for the vehicles on the one side, maybe the fire police kind of can gravitate to the one wing to the south, or not south, north, east side of that campus, and you can start to see how the traffic could get controlled there by them and have that access to 40th Street. And then maybe the public side, like the retail, the recreational, and the township would be on the other, where we have the public faces to it. We also thought it might be a pretty good idea to maybe have fire near recreational. I mean, what 5-year-old boy or young child doesn't like to see fire engines? So we thought that maybe that component could be up there. Maybe it's something that could be interactive with the kids while they're at the recreation center in their youth athletic league or activities that they're doing at your health facility. And then we did isolate the court potentially up, thinking that if somebody had to go to court, they may not want to be seen. They might want to have a semi-private way to get into it. And obviously, the clerical side of the judicial system, they need to have secure parking, and they would have that same access that the police would have in the back. It's very secure, to be locked down, so that the judge and their people can be safe on exiting the courthouse. Next slide. So now we look at the pedestrian component of this. We talked about the secured access vehicles. We talked about the public vehicles. But there could be this connector that becomes this outdoor area where an interactive area where there could be tables and chairs and umbrellas that are working off the retail or the restaurants that might be there, while their families or some parts of their family are participating in an athletic event or some social event that's at the recreation center. So this outdoor area could link all that and also link it across to the police and as well as the township. So now you have good separation between your secure vehicles as well as your public vehicles, your deliveries, and now you have your pedestrian security area. And it's just an idea. Some of these components can move around. Now, one of the best features on your site is that little bluff that's on that south end of that site, that southeast of the site. It overlooks a beautiful part of Exeter. We think that might be a place, whether it's the township building or recreation, the recreational component. It's just an idea, but it's a terrific view. And it looks over the valley, so anybody in there can always look over back. And conversely, if you go to the next slide, that becomes an icon, for your redevelopment. You'll see it from anywhere down along Perkiomen, down in the valley part of it, and we think it could just help revitalize that component of that campus, putting the key feature up there in that corner. I know the Monroe Shock place is there. I don't think that's what you want to see, from down the street. But this is an opportunity there where I would maybe express an idea for your campus that brings your community together. So we developed an action plan. We show a 6-month timeline for that, but we are staffed that we can move a lot faster or we can stretch it out. It really kind of depends on how you guys want to be informed or how you guys want to interact and how information flows. But we're definitely staffed to make it go quicker, but we can also take our time and let you guys vet out what's important for you and your community. So this is normally where we would have ended, and we've gone into discussion. But Lori did send us one question. She the question's up there on the board. So clearly we were looking at the questions. Look at how can we repurpose that building. So we went ahead and threw a couple extra slides in, and we want to show you how we could do that. So Jay touched on this a little briefly. This was a little thirst quencher building that was in Bath. It was probably the most popular building in Bath. It had a lot of traffic, and we were able to kind of take the bench away from the beer and turn it into a nice little community asset for their township. They have a very shoestring budget, so we were able to try to keep it clean and elegant and simple, and make sure we honor their budget. And we believe that helped them. And we can always get you Brad's the township manager's information, and you can talk to him and see how that experience went. And in the next one, we want to show you was Renaissance. We converted an old factory in Phoenixville to a charter school, the Renaissance Charter School. And you can see in the image on the left is the existing factory. Image on the right is the same view. It's a conversion to the school. So you see how you can kind of uplift and revitalize maybe a tired structure that serves its purpose. We're going to bring new life into it. So we take a look at another picture. This is the inside. So here you can see where the factory, again, it served its purpose, but it's strong. Bones are good. And on the right, you can see how we were able to turn it into a learning environment for that client. And then here, part of the building we had to put an addition on. So you can see the building on the left, on the left picture, the building on that part of the left we kept, and then over to the right we put the addition on, and you can kind of tell it's rather seamless on how we brought that together. Getting the brick to match and getting the windows to work out, it kind of revitalized that old building. And we have a picture of the front, so we're pretty proud of this. We're very proud to repurpose some buildings that have served its community well, and just might need a little extra loving to bring it back and to restore it back to the township, and in your case, Exeter, and maybe it's an opportunity for you. So at that point, I would ask you if you had any additional questions.
Eric, this is John. I noticed you did the Limerick municipal complex. Did you do their fire department as well?
Yes,
You
we
did
did
both.
the fire as well.
All right, because I actually toured both those facilities and I was really impressed.
Yeah, the fire facility was actually a pre-engineered building, believe it or not.
Yep. Yeah, that was a really nice job. That's all I had. Thanks.
Any other questions?
I don't know if anyone else, I don't have anything. Very comprehensive.
Nothing for me. Very impressive. Thank you.
Yeah, I have one question. Will you evaluate our current buildings that we're using as part of this process?
We could do that. That was something that was removed from the program, but we could definitely took a look at them. We did do a study back, I think it was 2016, so it wouldn't take us much to go back in and relook at them.
Okay.
If that's what you'd like to have done. We know the buildings, we've been in them. We just got to update them a little bit. It's hard to believe it's already been almost 5 years. I know the camera makes you look 10 years older, so we would look forward to that opportunity, Greg.
Is Jay still on the line?
I am, and I'm so disappointed. I had this thing tracked. We practiced all afternoon so I could show off, and I have no idea. But yes, I am, Greg. Still here.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm enjoying doing buildings, and I would be delighted to work for Exeter. Well, put me in, Coach.
Jay looks 10 years younger on camera.
I actually don't look so bad. I probably do now. I've turned ashen because I'm so fit to be tied with this whole thing. But we'll rally again. What I want everybody to understand: our firm is known for our technology in the architectural field. We're on the cutting edge, and for some reason, although I'm not that far behind. But you'll have this. Life goes on. We'll make it work. But we'd be delighted to work for you. Again,
Greg, it's my fault because I gave Jay an old computer because he doesn't use the Revit like some of the younger kids do. That's my fault.
Well, I have this image of him pulling his fingers through his hair while he's leaning on his elbow.
You know him too well.
I saw that many times.
That's a pretty accurate. Yeah, it's pretty accurate. By the way, with the pandemic, I got a lot of hair to pull through right now.
Just a follow-up question on that. So in 2016, you did a study on the existing buildings. Was that how extensive was that? Was that something that was published or?
It was. We can obviously pull that back up and share that with you. I believe there was several varieties of it, refixing the campus, and then introducing a emergency response component on the other side of Gibraltar, where I think it flanked part of the golf course. I can't remember. I think we kind of hit or were touching part of the tee box.
That was the Dave. That was before I was even on the board. That's the Exeter Canine. They were going to be a fire station there prior. Yeah, that was in 2016. But they did a demonstration in January. I got on the board in February through an appointment, and I watched that demonstration. They were going to put the fire station in where the Exeter Canine training facility is, right on.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's the work they did.
Okay.
Yeah, the only real challenge there was the traffic on Gibraltar was a little challenging. But of course, if there's an emergency response, the traffic's going to stop. But it's definitely a tight corner. But it was a good study. We can always bring that back out and show it to you.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Great job.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, time for our second one with Mr. Jansen.
All right, so we're gonna.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave. Lori, are you good? Thanks, Lori, for all your work with this.
Zip
Do
on.
you have to adjourn it?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, good point. Got a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank